Welcome to Energy Linguist, a sacred space for awakening souls ready to receive divine transmissions and the raw truth that sets them free. I am Laura Ahern, a spiritual channel and energy translator here to bring through messages from highest guidance to help you hear your inner knowing, reclaim who you are beneath the noise, and live from the truth within. Take a breath. You've found the space where remembering begins. Hello, everyone. This is Laura, the Energy Linguist, and I'm so excited to welcome you back for another episode of Energy Linguist Podcast. Thank you so much for being here today. Today, Divinity has really powerful messages to share that are coming through so strong. And I'm realizing now as this channel is opening up that they've been opening us up for this message, this particular message today, for weeks now. For those of you who have been with me on this journey through the last few podcasts, you may have noticed that Divinity has started to talk a lot about our emotional integrity, this capacity to pause on our reactivity around emotions and be intentional and aware of our emotions, along with this unveiling of the truth of the experience that we're having right now as a collective, the experiences of emotional overwhelm, of the chaos that seems to be ensuing. A lot of us feel the unraveling of things that were potentially core components of who we believed ourselves to be. And we're now being met with this moment to truly make a decision on who we are and faced with asking ourselves, who am I within this new terrain? Who am I without all of these things that might be falling away? And as challenging as this can feel, as significant as the losses feel to us, we sense on some level that our soul is choosing this transition, this awakening within our lives, so that we can rise to this higher way of existing, a way in which our spirit always deserved to be, the very spiritual experience that your soul was seeking when it chose to come here on this planet during this awakening time. No matter how many lifetimes you believe yourself to have lived, Divinity is telling me today that this is your lifetime to make a significant shift and ascension on your spiritual path. And how do I know this? How could I possibly know this? First off, I know with conviction that what they tell me is so. And then secondly, I also know that you're a soul who came here during this awakening, which means you're not messing around. It means that there is incredible things in store for you, and it takes an immense amount of courage. The courage that Divinity is drawing us into today is a deeper awareness around these emotions. Today, Divinity wants to talk on a very, very specific message that they've been channeling around the liberation from our suffering and our capacity to liberate ourselves through our emotional state, through our very heart chakra. For those of you who know a little bit about my own awakening, I was widowed at the age of 29. And at that time, I lost everything. I lost my husband. He was my best friend. And I literally lost every single dream that I had. Everything that I had been working towards and devoting myself to suddenly felt as if it had slipped through my fingers. And I was faced with having to figure out who I was. Now that everything was gone, who am I without this other person in my life who I was dreaming with, who I fell in love with his dreams, right? Without someone else kind of influencing me. It was an extraordinarily isolating moment, and it led me to one of the most terrifying moments of my life, when the weight of my own inner regret and pain and self-judgment rose so ferociously that it brought me to a moment where I knew with certainty that I would either have to learn to love myself, not in spite of it all, but because of who I decided I was on account of my own painful lessons, or I would assuredly not survive it. And it was very literal. I meant that and felt that very literally. I was terrified by the idea that I just could not live with myself. And I could no longer outrun or attempt to outrun those emotions that were rising inside of me. The grief, the guilt, all of the ideas and self-judgment around how I thought I had failed and not done enough, how I should have known better or done differently. And outside of all of the weight of how I feared I had hurt others was the real weight of recognizing that I had been self-harming through my own self-sacrifice, my own self-denial, from self-abandonment, of abandoning who I was at my core to try and be enough for everyone else. And no matter what way I looked at it, it felt inescapable. And in this precise moment of awakening for me, when I chose to see myself not as the experience, not as the judgment or the label or the story, but as the soul who had experienced it, I realized that the reason it was causing me such pain is because my soul, at its core vibration, in its purest form, was not resonant with what I had experienced. So the exact opposite happened to be true. I was not only not those pains and regrets and judgments, but the discomfort I felt around them was proving to me that I was not resonant with them. I was the exact opposite of some of the things I had gone through. And that awakening moment, that light that divinity showed me, allowed me to love myself and have compassion for myself with all things that rose. It was as if suddenly I heard the lie. All of the self-judgment were the lies. All of the labels were the lies that keep us trapped. They are the deceiver that exists within that tells us we don't deserve more, that we should stay stuck in a state of familiarity in which we are actively decaying in. We are suffering within our own comfort zone. I always call it a familiar zone because the truth is we are anything but comfortable in our comfort zone. And the patterns that are rising and the emotional pains that are rising right now on the planet are our soul rising beyond what we have been ingrained to accept, what we have been told we must settle for. And the message is this: the very thing I learned in that experience was that unconditional self-love is the truest liberator. Unconditional. Not because we showed up a certain way, not because we sacrificed a certain amount, not because we didn't make any mistakes. No conditions. Unconditional self-love can liberate us from the suffering. It can liberate us from the lack. It can liberate us from the nightmare of cycles in which we're living. And that's exactly what divinity wants me to talk to you about today. On my last Energy Linguist episode, where I had Pearl on as a beautiful guest for the second time, divinity took us down a lot of different pathways. One in which we were talking about this energy, this movement of energy that can set us free from our patterns, from these loops that we're experiencing within our life. And what Divinity wants from me today is to go deeper into an understanding with all of you on this so that you really can conceptualize in our mind what's happening within our invisible vibration, so that you have a greater willingness to open your heart to this unconditional love that they're talking about. In the last episode, Divinity started to unveil this experience of choosing to step out of our familiar zone, claiming with honesty what we desire, and suggested that when we do this, what happens is our willingness grows. This willingness to challenge what we think we are rises. What we're talking about here is ourselves as an energy being. Many people are familiar with chakras. If you're not very familiar about the nuances of that energy field, you probably at least have some sort of visual that comes to mind with this rainbow of colors rising from the root, our tailbone, all the way up our system, where it starts with this beautiful red root, and then we've got this sacral energy in orange, the yellow solar plexus, the green heart chakra, this blue throat, purple third eye, and then this iridescent, translucent crown energy. What a lot of people don't know about our chakra system is that we actually are in this harmonious balance with 3 of our chakras existing very much in the material plane, and 3 of the other chakras existing very much in our spiritual plane, with the centralized heart being the bridge between that material self and the spiritual self. In what is known as the Nadi system, our Sushumna is this central channel of energy that runs from the base of the spine to the crown. This energy is bidirectional. So it not only moves from the root to the crown in this ascending energy, but there's also this descending energy where we're translating energy from this highest spiritual point in our system down back to the root of our being, anchoring the spirit into our material world. The reason it's important for me to talk about the Sushumna here is that depending on which direction the energy is moving, it's actually known by 2 different things. When our energy moves from the root, moving upward towards the crown, that movement is known as liberation. And when the energy is moving from that crown down into the root, it's known as manifestation. Literally, spirit being in co-creation with us to bring these highest desires into our material world. Now, the 3 lowest chakras, the root, the sacral, and the solar plexus, teach us to claim our existence. Our root teaches us to feel safe. Our sacral teaches us to desire. And the solar plexus energy teaches us to act with agency. There's this willpower, and it houses our identity along with our self-worth, what we feel we deserve. And the regulation of these 3 lower material chakras are necessary in order to liberate us from victimhood and passivity and allow us to come into this greatest expression in power, a type of power that's only available to us when we are in true connection with our spiritual nature. We cannot claim what we truly deserve if we are still stuck in the ego's need to control and prove our worth and protect ourselves. The key to liberating ourselves is this message that divinity is channeling around unconditional self-love being the truest liberator. What I know of you, whether you know it or not, is you are invaluable. You are perfectly made. And you deserve extraordinary things. And if you're feeling the emotion in that right now, it's because your soul knows I'm right. You do. And as much as we want to tell ourselves this story about, no, I feel emotional because I don't feel I deserve it, that's not actually what's happening here. You feel that emotion because you know you deserve it, and you've gone so long without it. And that changes now. Your heart has the power to transform the entire equation of why you believe you are stuck. Because unconditional self-love doesn't ask us to deserve our desires or to earn our liberation. It asks us to recognize our inherent worth, to recognize that we are already invaluable, which is what allows that heart chakra to open and this connection with our higher spiritual chakras of the throat, the third eye, and the crown to come fully online, where we start to reintegrate ourselves not just as a human in a physical body that is struggling to survive, but as a whole spiritual being in its fullness, having this human experience, utilizing its entire field for our highest and greatest good. We cannot open our throat chakra if we are still judging ourselves as being unworthy of being heard. If there is still that excessive fear from the root chakra of being ostracized or rejected if we speak out of line. We cannot see clearly what we desire or deserve if we are constantly filtering reality through self-condemnation or self-preservation. That's not dreaming. It's a dream of hell. It is not a dream of your soul. And we cannot receive the divine guidance that we truly deserve if we believe we are separate from the divine. I received a really powerful message today during a one-on-one session with one of my clients, where God came through so powerfully and said, unworthiness is not the path to God. There is this misconstrued concept in religion that we are unworthy. And if we could just somehow make amends or be perfect or never make a mistake, that we could be saved. And our spiritual core knows that this is a lie. Unworthiness is not the path to connecting to God. This begging, this self-judgment, this condemnation, this inner self-abuse does not connect us with God's unconditional love. It is us using that source of God against ourselves, when what we really have available to us is the capacity to be a co-creator with God and discover what unconditional love is through our inner journey. And that inner journey starts now. Starts with a willingness. It starts with your big yes for you. It starts with every and any action that you are willing to take to say, I deserve more and I will do what it takes to claim it. And to know that you are held infinitely during this awakening. The heart doesn't just connect our material lower chakras and the upper chakras. It actually is the bridge that transforms not just our entire energy system. Yes, it helps to bring it online so it's working harmoniously. But what's most important for you to understand is that when we open it to unconditional love, what happens is our survival patterns start to disintegrate. We stop fighting ourselves. We stop fighting to control the world, to control the uncontrollable. And we stop performing. And instead we start being the invaluable, beautiful soul that we already are. And when we do that, we truly magnetize what we deserve and desire into our lives. Our relationships change, our monetary situation changes, our health changes. This guilt about desiring more, this self-shame, this fear and attempt to constantly control or to make ourselves comfortable in our familiar zone can only be fully released when we are willing to look at what is rising, look at the stories, look at the experiences, look at the emotion, and face it with unconditional love and compassion. Otherwise, we continue to operate from an unworthy vibration. We operate from lack, and we starve ourselves from the life of abundance that we deserve to live. For any of you who feel absolutely ready to open up your heart for unconditional self-love, I want to extend a personal invitation to you to join us in the Redwoods this upcoming March 2026 for an incredible experience in which we are moving beyond. We are going to see beyond the veil, beyond the story, beyond all judgments and limitations to the truth that God has for us and our life, to see the true, invaluable, beautiful spirit that exists at the core of this journey on this lifetime, and to truly release all the weight that we were never meant to carry, so that we can return to our lives, maybe for the first time ever, whole, fully integrated with our body, mind, and spirit. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to change things that have felt unchangeable your entire life. Things that society will actually tell you you cannot change. What's occurring in the Redwoods is a container for miracles. And you deserve to experience this miraculous transformation for yourself. If you're feeling called, I invite you to visit lauraahern.com/retreat and fill out an application immediately because spots are filling up quickly. This is a very intimate retreat for women, limited to 22 women. And every single day we're having applications roll in where women start to explore whether this is the perfect choice for their highest and greatest good. If you feel you are ready for your new life to begin now, it is time for you to break free by giving yourself a big yes, to step out of your familiar zone, to step through that fear, to claim that you do desire more, so that we can learn together how much you truly deserve and open your willingness to receiving it all. May you be ever blessed. Thank you so much for being here with me on this episode of Energy Linguist. I cannot wait to be with you again. Thank you for being here, for listening with your heart, and for opening to the truth meant just for you. If this transmission resonated, I invite you to visit lauraahern.com for free resources and sacred support to help you accelerate your awakening and walk your path with more power, trust, and grace. Until next time, trust what you feel, honor what you know, and believe in your power to create something greater than you've ever imagined.